So we have two full indoor studios. This side we've got the club fitting studio, and then we move on to the other side, which is for our teaching and also for club fitting as well, but we mainly use it for teaching. In relation to the club fitting, these are the stats that we use to back up our professional knowledge on which club head and which shaft to have. You'll see as you go through, you go club head speed, ball speed, swing path, so that's the line into the ball, and also whether the club face is open or closed. It gives us various stats that we can pick the right stats that we need to fit the correct irons or woods to you. You can do it from there, overhead. Custom fitting. Online fitting we can do where we judge obviously your height and wrist to floor measurement, therefore we can ascertain which length of shaft we can have and also the lie of the club. But even more professional way of custom fitting is to go through a static and a dynamic fit as well. Each of the companies will supply us with custom fit equipment, which is shafts, heads, components, so therefore we can fit the club exactly to you. Did you get hold of that? So the first process is to see which head shape you like from the beginning, and obviously ask the right questions on handicap, where you play, how often you play, to give a good guideline of which head we would fit you from the beginning. The head styles, you'll go from what we call a blade club, which is basically the head is solid at the back and a slightly smaller head, so that's really one of the starting ones. It often starts at someone who's playing off scratch up to about a 7 to 8 handicap. Then you start moving into a progressive blade, which is this one. Basically it's a little bit of weight around the outside there and a slight recess at the bottom, in the centre here. So that gives you a little bit of help if you have the mishits on the toe or on the heel. Then you move up to the full recess, which is here. Okay, more weight around the outside and a bigger head. Then we move on to the shaft that is compatible with each head. Most of the custom fit companies now will allow us to fit the head together with the shaft, pushing in and then tightening, so therefore we can actually hit shots and demonstrate that club. Then we move on to the type of shafts that we would fit into the head. Every shaft is really what we would call the engine of the club. That's the most important part. You've got different weights, different lengths, and then you move on to other materials. So you've got graphite and then you've got steel. It's critical to get the right length for you. If you go half an inch longer or an inch longer, then the club will feel a little bit heavier because of the laws of leverage. So that's where it affects the balance. Someone who really sits in between 5'9" and 6'2" would often be a standard fit, but that depends on how long their arms are and their dynamic posture. So when they're standing to the ball is obviously the critical point, and then through the ball where their dynamic posture affects the actual lie angle, and also the length of the club is determined. Good. So the flex of the shaft is critical. Trying to make sure that we don't, one, have a too stiff a shaft, and the other is obviously having too flexible shaft. When the shaft is a little bit too flexible for you, you tend to have least control. You may store energy and it may feel quite powerful at times, but you will lose the club head control. If the club is too stiff for you, you will not actually flex the shaft. You may hit it straighter, but it will feel dead off the club face. Hence the reason there are over 15 different styles of shafts for one particular company, and then you move on to other companies and they will have another 15 shafts. So really the difference between stiff and regular, there's also the difference between where the kick point of the shaft is. If the kick point is fairly low, then it will hit the ball up in the air, and then if it's a little bit higher up the shaft, then it will keep the ball down. The weight of the shaft is critical. If, let's say for a lady, then the shaft was too heavy, then you wouldn't lose, you'd lose all control. That's why we would change obviously between a lady shaft, senior shaft, and then a male shaft. Right, once we've measured your static height and wrist to floor measurement, that will give us a very good guideline to which lie of the club they should have, or the client should have. Then we would do what we call a dynamic fit to measure actually which this angle is. That is what we call the lie of the club. The lie of the club is important because if you have the club sitting on the ground, the toe end on this end should be slightly off the ground. So a third of the club on that toe end should be off the ground there. Then when you actually hit the ball, the shaft flexes like that and actually flattens it, and therefore then it's flat going through the ball. If the club is sitting too much like so, then the toe of the club will go into the ground, and vice versa. So if the club is actually too upright for the client, then the ball will go to the left. If it's spot on and it's the right correct lie, then we've got a lot more chance for it to go straight. And then if the club is actually too flat, then the toe of the club will go into the ground and it will actually go out to the right. That's for a right-handed player. So we move into the club fitting. We use a system here where it's really backing up what, as professional fitters we are, what we're saying. So if we was to get on to the screen and actually hit some shots, it gives us full stats of spin rate, how the club faces into the ball. So we get each client to play 3 or 4 shots with each club. Get them to get a feel of how the club feels in their hand, the weight of it, and a full personal choice. To make sure we get the perfect lie angle, we get the client to hit 2 or 3 shots from the strike board. To make sure that the lie angle is correct, this is where we place the strike tape right on the base of the club to make sure it's fairly central. So now we've got the tape on the base of the club, what we do is actually hit a shot to put a mark on the base to double check the lie. As you can see on the base here, there's the marking, there's the centre line. Majority of the mark is within the area there, and that shows that the lie of the club is correct for me. Once we get to the end of the process, we've made sure that you have definitely got the right club for you, within your budget, and you're going to play the best golf that you can.